We will begin today's video by recommending you stick through this video to the end. You do not want to miss the deception that has clouded the true history of Africa. First, we will begin by stating our conclusion. When Black people learn about their rich history, they see themselves in a new light. They move from feeling like eternal victims to recognizing their role as builders of civilizations. They realize they can do amazing things, like build skyscrapers, dams, and magnificent edifices. This knowledge frees them from feeling like they're less than someone from the West or the Arab world. They become confident and stop feeling like they have to follow others. They take pride in their language, their way of speaking, and their culture. In short, they feel the same sense of pride and potential that people from places like China or Europe feel. Knowing their history gives them the boost they need to aim high and achieve the impossible, just like their ancestors did. Paraphrasing a quote by Sheikh Anta Diop at a 1984 conference in Niger, he states, "You have to know that the opponent kills you intellectually, they kill you morally, before they kill you physically. But this is how entire groups have been suppressed. Your existence as a moral being is denied, your existence as a cultural being is denied. They close your eyes so that one does not see the obvious. They count on your insecurities, on your alienation, on conditioning, on reflexes of subordination, and many factors of this sort. And if we cannot set ourselves free from such a situation by our own means, there is no salvation." When Black people dig into their real history, it's often eye-opening. Many great civilizations, like those in ancient Egypt, Carthage, and Zimbabwe, were part of African heritage. There were also African empires like the Benin Kingdom and the Congo Empire. African cultures like the Swahili and Ashanti were highly advanced. Africans even played a big role in other parts of the world, like Moorish Spain, Imperial Morocco, and probably ancient Mexico's Olmec civilization. There were also early Asian civilizations influenced by Africans. Learning all this makes you wonder, why didn't we know about this rich history? The sad truth is that when Europeans started the slave trade in Africa, they also began to rewrite African history. This wasn't by accident. They knew Africans had a rich and complex past. In fact, Africans had been in places like Spain, Portugal, and Sicily for 781 years. They were known as the Moors or Black Berbers from North Africa. Together with Arabs, they had built one of Europe's greatest civilizations at a time when Europe was struggling. So, it's clear that altering African history has been a long-term project, and understanding our true past is a way to correct that. When the Portuguese first came to Africa, they found a rich and thriving continent. At the time, African Moors had been a big influence in Europe but were losing their power. So, Europeans already knew that Africans were smart and capable because of the great things Africans had done in Europe and Africa. The idea that Black people were less smart or less capable was made up. It wasn't based on real history. Actually, the slave trade helped create the false idea that Black people were less than human. Europeans were scared of North Africans, who had better weapons. Instead, they went after people in sub-Saharan Africa who were easier to capture. To justify the terrible things they were doing, like enslaving and killing millions of people, they had to make it seem like Africans were less than human and not smart. The truth was very different. Many of the people taken as slaves were from advanced societies. They wore fine clothes like silk and velvet and knew how to run successful empires. The idea that Black people were inferior was made up so that those doing wrong could keep doing it without feeling guilty. When people want to harm a group, they often start by ruining the group's reputation. This has happened in every case where a whole group of people was wiped out. To make it seem okay to treat Africans terribly during slavery, their history and culture were twisted and made to look bad. Things that were actually important parts of African culture were belittled. For example, meaningful traditions were called just folklore. Languages rich with history were labeled as dialects. African leaders, who were often fair and wise, were painted as cruel slave traders. Even African religions were called witchcraft or paganism. So, a lot of what was written to make African history and culture look bad was accepted by people, and the efforts to show the true, rich history were ignored or pushed aside. The European slave trade and colonization left indelible scars on the African continent, with profound consequences for its civilizations. Among those affected, four civilizations stand out not only for their historical significance but also for the magnitude of the loss. Swahili civilization. The Swahili coast was composed of city-states that thrived on maritime trade. Stretching from present-day Mozambique to Somalia, its most influential regions were in Tanzania and Kenya. With ornate stone buildings, mosques, and bustling marketplaces, cities like Kilwa and Mombasa became epicenters of trade, connecting Africa to Arabia, Persia, and even Asia. The European incursion disrupted these trade networks, leading to the decline of this once flourishing civilization. Dahoma's civilization, located in modern-day Benin, the Kingdom of Dahoma was a powerful West African state known for its military prowess, sophisticated bureaucracy, and the prominence of female warriors, sometimes referred to as the Dahoma Amazons. European slavers and colonizers, eager for territorial and trade advantages, undermined the Dahoma kingdom's political structures, decimating its economy and leading to its eventual collapse. Ashanti civilization, the Ashanti Empire, in what is now Ghana, was renowned for its intricate kente cloth, golden artifacts, and a well-organized administrative system. The Ashanti Empire had stone buildings. Indeed, the British were shocked to find books in the royal court of the Ashantis during the Anglo-Ashanti Wars of the 1800s. The golden stool was a symbol of unity for the Ashanti people. However, their resistance to British colonization led to several wars, culminating in the War of the Golden Stool. The ensuing British victory and subsequent colonization eroded the cultural and political autonomy of the Ashanti people, leading to the decline of this once majestic empire. Zimbabwe. At its zenith, the Kingdom of Zimbabwe was epitomized by the Great Zimbabwe Ruins, a sprawling stone city that stands as a testament to the architectural and cultural prowess of its inhabitants. Rich in cattle and gold trade, Zimbabwe was a beacon in southeastern Africa. However, European colonization in the late 19th century destabilized the region, disrupted trade, and introduced new diseases, leading to the fall of this once great civilization. Before European countries started taking over Africa, they changed the story of Egypt's history. In the 1800s, people got really interested in ancient Egypt because they had just figured out how to read its old writings. But the Europeans didn't want to admit that a great civilization like Egypt could be African. So they started claiming that Egyptians were white, not black. This twisted version of history still affects how black people are viewed today. Some of this comes from the poverty and struggles caused by European control. But it also comes from wrong ideas, like saying that black skin is a curse in Christianity or linking African culture to evil in Islam. These false beliefs help keep black people down in many places around the world. For example, some say Africans can't handle their own money, so they're forced to use a currency that takes away half of what they earn every year. Or they say Africans can't manage their own valuable resources like minerals and oil, so others should take them. In South Africa, they even say Africans can't farm their own land, so 80% of it has been taken away. These wrong ideas are used to justify putting in leaders and systems that don't really help the people there. The efforts by Western and Arab countries to erase our history let them use our resources and keep saying they're better than us. Imagine someone breaking into your house, stealing all of your family heirloom, burning all your family photos, and then making fun of you for not having any history. That's how bad it is. This isn't new. It started with the slave trade, where they tried to remove everything that made Africans who they are. Slaves were forced to change their religion before leaving Africa and change their names once they got to America. The goal was to erase their identity. Remember the scene in Roots where Kunta was renamed Tobe? This is really harmful. Most cultures have faced hard times but got through it because they remembered their history and who they were. Taking that away from us makes it really hard for us to get better. So, understanding our true history is like rising from the ashes. It's the key to rebuilding. Learning about their rich history empowers Black people to see themselves as capable builders and achievers, rather than victims. This newfound knowledge boosts their confidence, freeing them from feeling inferior to others. It instills pride in their culture and language, equipping them to aim high and achieve great things, just like their ancestors did. Thanks for joining us on today's topic. We hope you found it intellectually and culturally stimulating. Like, comment, and subscribe to our channel to get notified of future videos.